Okay.
Tonight at 7 on My TV 30. And now it's time for Judge Brown. He's the real deal in the courtroom today.
I let them live in my house and they didn't pay the bills. I don't owe her anything. Besides, she threw my husband in jail.
She gave them a home, they gave her grief. Student Kimberly Mulrooney is suing her former friend for back rent and utility bills. Defendant Jamie Irvin is countersuing for defamation of character and pain and suffering. Now, here's Judge Joe Brown.
The plaintiff is suing the defendant for past due rentals and utility bills. The defendant denies that she owes anything to the plaintiff and claims that the plaintiff should be liable to her for defamation of character and for pain and suffering for creating a deliberately hostile living environment. I take it your husband was in the military and was overseas. Okay, he's still deployed. Now, you were pregnant at the time, right?
Yes, sir.
You two met basically through mutual friends in October of 2003, and you began hanging around together. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, ma'am, I understand you and your husband got evicted from your apartment in April of last year, and you offered to let them stay with you. Is that right?
That's correct, Judge. That's not true, Your Honor.
Well, what'd you do? Break down the door and invade?
No, sir. We actually were not evicted. Miss Mulrooney asked us to move in with her so she didn't have to be by herself. Never evicted from there.
All right. The plaintiff says that there was an agreement that the defendants were to pay $384 a month in rent and their portion of the utilities. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Further, the term they were supposed to stay in there would end when you came to term and delivered. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, now what happens?
In April of 06, she said, look, we're getting evicted. She showed me paperwork that the manager there had was lying, and she showed me her proof, and I believed her. She was my
The
friend.
other one was lying to get her evicted.
Well, no, that the manager was lying.
Manager?
Because the receipts didn't add up. But I
Okay, she
believed her.
was saying, all right, I paid it, he's just jacking
Right.
me around. You know.
So I believed her, and she was my friend. So I let him move in. The agreement was to pay rent, utilities, and cable. They paid mostly on time, except for the prorated rent they still owe for. In June of 06, I had a death in the family. I went up to New York for about a week. I come home. There was supposed to be no smoking in my house. It smelled like cigarette smoke. I said no smoking in my house. Yes, I did smoke myself, but it was supposed to be outside. There's no smoking in the house with my son, even now to this day. And
Don't blame. Go ahead.
well, I had to pay the bills when I come back. I said, do you have your portion of the bills? She goes, no. And I'm like, I have to pay the bills. So in June, that's where it all went downhill and started getting behind on their bills. They owe, for June of 06, they owe $86.66 for the electric. July 06, they owe $55.58. And in August, they owe $21.27. And I have receipts that I wrote to them for everything that they've actually paid for rent and so forth. I never received any receipts, Your Honor. We didn't do receipts, sir.
You claim you gave him receipts. Okay, well,
Yes, I
pass your
did.
duplicates up. Miss Sullivan, if you please.
And
Thank you. So I've got a balance, you say, unpaid rents of $449.
correct.
And $86.66 for the June, I guess it would be power bill, $56.58 for July, $21.78 for August, and then there is a $164 cable bill.
Correct.
That's prima facie case. Let's go to the defendants. Okay, now, you do not have an agreement with them to pay anything. You just moved in there to keep her company and hold her hand, right?
Yes and no. First and foremost, actually, me and my husband were living in a mobile home park, and Miss Mulrooney called me and wanted to let me know that she was pregnant. Miss Mulrooney actually wanted us all to move in together, and she was living at home with her parents. Me and Miss Mulrooney went together and looked for apartments together.
all around our city to find which would be the best for us to do, and we finally settled on the final one. Miss Mulroney told us that we needed to contribute any way that possible. We never had a set agreement down because we knew that we would not be able to afford more than what we were paying at the place that we were already staying at. The point of us moving
Why
with
should
her,
she be doing you such a favor?
she didn't want to be alone, sir.
She's staying with her mother.
No, she wanted to move into her own apartment so she would have space for her
Okay,
child.
now I want to get on to the rest of it. Let's get back to the rest of it. Now, assuming for purposes of this discussion that everything you say is true, can you get me to the point in your counterclaim where you say she intentionally stressed you out because she had you worried that she was going to call the police, and if the police had come, they would have discovered that your husband had outstanding warrants?
It's warrant, not plural.
Warrant.
And the warrant had only been posted for about a month. Miss Mulroney, when she got closer to giving birth to her child, she decided that she wanted to have the house and the room to himself, for the
To
baby.
herself.
I'm saying for the child, sir, for himself. That's what she wanted
Oh,
for the
she
baby.
wanted a nursery.
Yes, sir. And she therefore made our life difficult.
How did she make the life difficult?
Number one, she was taking all the food out of the house and saying that she couldn't afford groceries. So me and my husband...
Well, she couldn't afford groceries
I was the
for
only
the
one
two.
paying for
Yes, sir.
groceries.
Yes, I
Your Honor.
understand.
And
Their
I tried to explain
assertion
myself.
is the only person paying for groceries was her.
But
So
no,
she wasn't
sir,
going to
she
feed the
actually
two
had
of
no
you.
problem with eating our groceries and took all
You
of
never
her
got
groceries
any.
out of the house. And therefore, when we were no longer able to afford groceries, we actually went to churches and asked for help. And Miss
Wait a
Mulroney
minute.
had no
You
problem.
wait. Then do you understand what you're saying?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, what's your point? She says you didn't have any money, couldn't buy anything. I took the groceries out because I got tired of feeding them. And then you say that's not true. You say we had no money to buy any, so we were going to churches to get fed.
We'll be right back with Judge Joe Brown.
We did end up moving. We actually stayed in the Walmart parking lot the first night. The following day, we contacted his parents, and they actually gave us funds to stay in a hotel.
And later today,
I was basically up in the air like this, and
so she rented her a room while her husband was away on duty. The defendant and her husband ignored the rules and requests for utilities. Let's take a look.
Let's get back to this point about she created a hostile environment for you and your husband, and you and your husband had to move out because you were afraid that she was going to call the police and have your husband arrested for his outstanding warrant while he was asleep.
Yes, sir. We did end up moving. We actually stayed in the Walmart parking lot the first night. It was late at night. We had nowhere else to go. The following day, we contacted his parents, and they actually gave us funds to stay in a hotel. We stayed in it was actually a motel, I'm sorry. We stayed in a motel for 2 nights, and his parents actually paid for us to move into another place.
You know what? This is absolutely extraordinary. There is, in fact, an outstanding warrant, felony warrant, for which your husband is now duly incarcerated, so there was some merit to it. You were attempting to secure him from being apprehended on the warrant, which means, at the very least, that suggests that you were harboring a fugitive by what you did to assist him in evading apprehension. She doesn't even hardly know you, so you got a fugitive from justice in her place, and you're upset that she might have called the authorities and say, you got a fugitive down here with a warrant, somebody you want.
Sir, she knew me for 4 years.
Well, I don't care. That's harboring a fugitive. That's a criminal offense. She's got a baby and a husband deployed overseas. You think she wants to go to jail for harboring your dingbat hubby who is on the lam with no job and you're supporting him? That is absolutely ridiculous.
Sir, she sat on the warrant for a month until
Oh,
she
my
feeling
goodness.
something
Oh,
right now.
my goodness. You're not even going in. That's enough. You owe this woman straight up and out, and the whole proposition is crazy. And that's something I'll use to assess the credibility of your assertion. I didn't get any receipts.
I didn't receive, sir. I did not receive.
I can't make up those dates off the top of my head. Your
I
Honor.
understand. You even have, she gave you the copies of the stubs on
Those
some
are
of
the
them.
duplicates.
Duplicates on the whole bloody doggone things, and then some money order receipts down there. This is crazy. And you wanted to harbor a fugitive, felony fugitive. $1,041.02 in your court call.
Thank you, sir.
Defendant tried to argue that she was doing the plaintiff a favor by living with her. She lost favor with the judge pretty quick and will have to reach deep to make good now. The plaintiff wins. Now, on to the next case.